You unbelieving and perverse generation, Jesus replied. How long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy here to me. Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of the boy, and he was healed at that moment.
Well, hello, Lane Divin.
Hello, Mr. Pitts.
How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing pretty dang good.
That's good. I'm glad.
We got the truck squared away. We got the leak in the house squared away.
Oh man.
You don't know about that one.
Yeah, Lane Divin's old roof collapse middle of the night. He came out there in his underwear with a pistol.
I really did that.
I know you did. That's why I said. He didn't even tell me that. I just assumed it. We just know each other that well because that's what I would have done.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But lo and behold, the kitchen ceiling, fell out. All is good though.
Yeah. Your air fryer, toaster oven, squared away now?
Still rocking it. We got it cleaned. Got all the insulation out of it.
Man.
Microwave, good to go.
It's times like this where you're super thankful that's a rental.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say that because, literally a week prior to this event happening, we went through and we signed our renewal lease. And so it's like, and this is a property that we've considered, if the opportunity presents itself, purchasing in the future, right?
Yeah.
And so
it's a nice place.
And it's like, man, we're just so far going into year 2 of like a test run, working all the kinks out of the house.
You're going to have that thing fixed by the time it's all said and done, man.
And Lord willing, if that's where we're supposed to be, then that opportunity may arise. But if not, I mean, I'm just renting the dang place. I ain't got to worry about nothing.
You're dang right. You ain't got to fix all that stuff like us homeowners do.
I'll just call my landlord. That's all.
Yeah, I don't. I've actually got to fix crap.
Man, it's been very, like, in some regard, it's been like a very enlightening like experience in the aspect of like, if I was to own a rental property in the future, it's just like the epitome of like, you have to have some money stacked up to go into this house for repairs.
Yeah, it's a good lesson, I guess, on the flip side of that, huh?
Absolutely. Because like, there's been one thing after another in this house, and it's not a big deal for a landlord, but like, if you don't have money stacked up to go through and actually repair stuff how it should be, then you can put yourself in a pretty tight spot pretty quick.
Yeah, I believe that.
So,
man, well, I'm glad you're getting that squared away and getting it in a positive direction.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And shortly after you had your roof fall in your kitchen, we went and did a little bit of exploring, man.
Yeah, man, we went and hit the dang trail together.
Let me tell you something, folks.
That was the first time since Cocodona.
Yeah, exactly. And then before that, it was the first time, and Cocodona was the first time in forever that you and I had shared a trail together.
Yeah.
Because Mr. Lane Divin is a road runner. He is just about... See, folks, for me, running, one of the ways that I fell in love and keep being in love with running is by going and exploring neat places. I've ran on a bunch of trails, pretty much everything within San Antonio that I can think of trail-wise worthwhile to go do. I've explored a lot of different trails around San Antonio too, out towards like Lakey with Lost Maples and Garner State Park as well, hiking with my wife and just being out there and enjoying time on my feet. But Lane Divin, I have diagnosed him with a case of the divine road running blues for a little while because he gets I know he gets fed up with the roads around here and running these dang trails, or not even trails, roads over and over and over.
Yeah.
But he hadn't explored. So this past Sunday morning before church, I drug him out to Frederick Wilderness Park up near halfway to Bernie, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trek up there, but we got him out there, folks. And I want to hear your honest thoughts and reviews of that trail. Because it was a recovery run, so we didn't just like burn it down and just ignore all of the beauty of the trail. What do you think?
I want to, before we dive into that.
Nope. We got nothing to say about it, man. You're just a road running fool.
I mean, I did make the comment where it's like I do all my training on the road and then all my races are on the trail, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
I'm not mad about it. Obviously, I'd love to get out on the trail more.
But I know you're not mad about it because you love the road, man.
I really
like
don't.
Trails.
I really don't.
You just don't like trails.
I'm just building up the beating my legs can take. That way, whenever I hit the trail, it's nice and plush.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that believable?
So
there is some truth to that.
There is some truth.
No, man, whenever it comes to that, it's like I'm so set in my schedule where it's like I can't wake up at 4:00 and be on the trail at 4:05. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I do.
And I do need to get more adaptable with my schedule and everything. And I do agree that that's an opportunity for me because whenever I do hit the trail, it's like, oh, I can't run down 8-minute miles on the trail.
It is a different ballgame
depending on the section. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But outside of that, I do truly love getting on the trail, just being in nature and everything like that is one of the main attractions for me with running. Yeah. And it's like being able to go out and actually perform at a good rate because I have been running just on the road comparative to the trail. So like you're able to still get out there and enjoy it for the most part, right?
Yeah.
But no, dude, it was good. I love getting up there. Exposed me to some technical stuff that I haven't seen since Cocodona, technically, I guess. I think it was kind of probably a little bit of foreshadowing for me for going up to Bandera come October, if I had to guess. Sections of that, at least, where it's pretty rocky, and we've heard Bandera is nothing but rock. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that continues to play out for sure. But
I think we should take poll and maybe some bets along the way on how many times you're going to stub your toe out there at Bandera as well. I have never seen somebody destroy their feet the way Mr. Divin destroyed his feet on that trail. And that's not just poking fun, but it was insane and hilarious. Every time I'd look back, you're just like, God.
It's probably looking like Billy Joggins out there on Rocky Raccoon, man.
Oh man, yeah, he found all them stumps, and you found all the rocks over here. Don't get me wrong,
which Barnes finds all them stumps out there
at
Huntsville State Park too.
He does, and don't get me wrong, I have ate it multiple times at that Frederick Wilderness Park out there. There are some rocks that'll sneak up on you, and I've rolled ankles more times than I can count. So I get it. But I got to give you a hard time because, old road runner coming over to the trails, over to the dark side, baby.
I find it funny because it's also like a lot of road runners, like true road runners, they're like, oh, like they'll mention vertical oscillation, which is just how high you bounce up whenever you're running and how there's a sweet spot in there of being at a certain percentage and it makes you more efficient and everything else. And essentially that sweet spot's like a minimal like base above the road, like barely anything, right?
Yeah.
And on the trail you can't do that.
Oh no.
And I don't know, man. It's exposed me to some opportunity within my performance and my training overall. But with that being said, again, that was on the backside of a long run.
It was.
And so I would like to get out there on some fresh legs and see what that actually looks like in that regard. But with Bandera, the course being 45 minutes down the road, I do plan on implementing getting out there 1 to 2 times a month at least to be acclimated to that trail a little bit more. So
see, I'm excited about that. I'm excited about possibly getting out there with you to do some knocking out of those. And I'll tell you, you mentioned vertical oscillation and things like that. Man, you're right. Roadrunners get so wrapped up in science, right? Like running tangents to where you're cutting the corners of the trail or the road. Sorry, you're working the curves of the road to make it the shortest routes possible from point A to point B, and you're trying to hit all these different metrics and vertical oscillation and watching your cadence and your steps and how long each step is and stride length and all this crap. And you know what we're worried about on trails?
What's that?
Do you remember whenever you were like floating around like an airplane at the end of Cocodona? Like that's our life. We're just like, hey, we're just
living,
gonna have
baby.
a good time, baby. We're just LIVIN living. And man, we're just going to float on these trails. We're going to make sure we put our foot down in the right spot so we don't eat shit. But we're going to enjoy this trail. And that's what I love about trail running.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you got some technical training. And you got some exposure to some trails. And that was a blast. Because I love that place. And I hope that you liked it enough to go out there again sometime.
Oh, absolutely. Isn't that going to become like our Sunday ritual?
I'm really hoping that this becomes a Sunday tradition.
Kendall's cool with it, so.
Lane doesn't have a problem with it either, I'm sure. So we'll be
Gucci gang, boy.
Hey, the second great thing to come out of that is that even though I was inducted into the Blackfoot tribe as Slanted one, I was the only one with a nickname. Old boy over here that named me, who's the founder of the tribe, doesn't even have a freaking Indian name. But we solved that.
Did we?
We did. There was 2 to choose from. We started with 1, and we decided there was a different route to go. And I think we settled in on the official nickname, Indian name for this tribe. Not really much of a tribe. There's kind of just like a straight up and down line in the hierarchy. There's what we at first called Big Chief, who's no longer Big Chief, by the way, Mr. Lane Diven. And then below him, you have the Slanted one, second in command only because there's only 2 of us. Or else I'll quickly move into third in command and probably fourth in command eventually. But regardless, ex-Big Chief has the nickname of Tatonka. And you even referenced yourself as Tatonka at the end of there, man.
You dang right. I was like, Tatonka belongs on the prairie, son, not up in the mountains.
He kept beating his hooves against them rocks and slipping up, man.
So here's the thing, man.
Nope, come on. What you got?
I chose to change it from Big Chief to Tatonka. One, because Big Chief is like a title, which I do have.
Okay.
But Tatonka is like who I am. You know what I mean? So it's like because
I feel like I should like jazz snap or something like deep in there. I feel like you just hit me with some poetry.
Because it's like there was Sitting Bull back in the day. There was Dancing Rain. There's all these different individuals out there. That was their name. But then they had the title of Chief or whatever else is out there, right?
Big Chief, maybe.
Maybe. And so it's like my title can't also be my name. And though I am crew chief, it's like that doesn't technically count as my name. So I feel like Tatonka is more fitting.
I feel like Tatonka works.
And it's also because I'm thick.
You're not your standard ultra runner. When it comes to just size, something awesome.
And I don't move like a gazelle or your typical. I just kind of like straight into the storm, straight into whatever, and I just power through it, you know? So
I think Tatonka, in that regard, in the relation of what those animals do, especially with the storms, that's an awesome example of what that is. 1,000%. And I want to share something with you. Michael and I had a conversation. He called me earlier, and it made me laugh because Michael was sitting at this place called the Spice Station. I think it's Indian food maybe down there in Kingsville. Yeah, they love the Spice Station. I don't know. You probably know what I'm talking about because you were down there for a while.
Yeah, I was down there for a little while. I don't recall the place, but
well, it's apparently really good.
I just stuck to the luau down there, and that was about it. So
I got you. Maybe it's Thai food. I can't remember what it is. I haven't been there with him yet, but he was in there, and him and his wife and their little new son were sitting down, and they were eating, right? Mm-hmm. And he's eating this I forgot what it's called. It's flatbread stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And they said that his father and son walked in, and the son got like a little egg roll or something like that, and the dad had some spicy food, and they were sitting down at a table just right next to Michael and Bree, right? Mm-hmm. And the kid looks over, and he's like, "Daddy, what is that strong man eating a pancake? Or why is that strong man eating a pancake?" And Michael was like, "Yeah, that's right. That's right." And then the dad goes, "Son, that's not a pancake. That's whatever kind of bread it was." Yeah. And Michael's like, "Yeah, you noticed what he corrected and what he didn't correct, right?" I'm a strong man.
Heck yeah.
And we both laughed because then Michael said, "Man, imagine what they'd say if Lane Dibben was sitting down there." A big old thick buffalo Tatonka. Oh, dude, that's
eating
perfect.
Some bread.
Dude. Tatonka fits in so many ways. You got the freaking big old buffalo mane. I don't know what you call that.
The scruff.
The scruff.
Yeah.
Oh man, I think it
got traps for days.
Yeah.
Just kind of hunched over.
Thick, running. Yeah, we gotta get you up there. We're not gonna take away Tatonka, but we're gonna try to turn you into like a elk buffalo hybrid or something, man, just to get you out there and just nimble and on your feet and just traveling. Absolutely.
I'm here for it, man. If we can just up my agility a little bit to kind of match the rest of everything, I think I'll be all right.
I think you're good. I do want to get out there and have some fun on those trails, like honestly, maybe even do some racing and things like that between the two of us. Maybe some more people if we can bring out some Barnes and Michael and Dad and stuff
Clydesdale.
Like that. Oh, yeah.
Man, we got everybody has a name.
Everybody's got a name. We're going to have to figure out the old Clydesdale.
Broke Knees Ruiz.
Broke Knees Ruiz. Billy Joggins. Oh, man. We got to figure out when. I guess we got to do some more hard stuff and get them in the tribe at some point, potentially.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only second in command. I can't make those kind of decisions, but perhaps.
Heck yeah, man. No, but thoroughly, like I loved getting out there, and now I'm excited to get out there to Bandera. It's going to continue to expose us to different opportunities within our training and I mean, I don't know. It's very interesting every time you listen to a race recap of Bandera or people have been out there, and kind of the history behind it too. Because Bandera Cactus Rose used to be a pretty dang big race. It
still has some years of super competitive stuff going on out there. I mean, Courtney DeWalter showed out there. What,
2 years ago? 3 years ago?
I think it's somewhere right in that range, and dominated the women's field and got her a golden ticket for Western States. So I mean, it's a very prevalent race. I mean, it's still high up there on the radar. The men's field that year was insanely competitive as well. Mm-hmm. I think it's really competitive every single year. And there's a section of that course that they call the racetrack. It's this lower flat area out there, and I don't know for sure, but I've been told by people that those elite runners are running sub 7 minute mile pace out there on that in the middle of their 100K race.
Just to make up for all the elevation everywhere else.
Exactly. Yeah. All the ups and downs and I mean that
all the technical stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it does get very technical out there, man. Mm-hmm. And that's something we need in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially whenever you just run the streets.
Yeah, the old streets, old road runner, you know, old buffalo out there on the highway. Tatonka.
But no, dude, you know, it's gonna be good. And with our Sunday runs coming in, I truly would like to make that a consistent thing. It just kind of puts you at ease too. You know, it's like I made mention whenever we were out there on the trail, I was like, dang, we got to church early because we're out there and just God's creation, just run the trail, some pretty views out there. I don't know, it's just stuff like that. It just always makes me appreciate everything else, and it puts you in a super solid mindset going into church too. So
It does, and it's also, I mean, that's I love that point. I love the point of being out there in God's creation and seeing that and feeling the presence. And I mean, that's where my connection with that side of things and my faith
100%.
really occurs. It doesn't occur in a building with a bunch of other people, and it does. Like this last Sunday at church hit me pretty dang hard, and it was one that kind of realigned me and put me back in the right direction of where I was, like told me what I needed to see to know that I'm still headed down the right path in some ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that completely, because that is for both of us. So
yeah. But with that being said, it's just awesome to see as many people as there were. Dude, the parking lot was packed. If we got there any later, we would have been searching for a parking spot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to see that many people out there and giving a damn about taking care of themselves, exploring, exercising, spending time together. I mean, there was grandparents with grandkids. There was running groups. There was a bunch of families, parents with their kids out there. There's a bunch of friends groups. There's a bunch of individuals just out there living life, had headphones on, doing their own thing, but exploring nature.
There's a dude doing yoga out there.
Yeah, there's a dude doing yoga, like meditating out there on the rock. Yeah. There was trail runners, a bunch of them. Of course, we were faster, but
absolutely, just barreling through.
That's right, baby. we had like a 13-minute mile pace. So we were kidding, but it was a recovery run. So just bear with us. We'll burn it down one of these days. Come join us if you want to here in the San Antonio area.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, maybe that is something we ought to do. Just hey, if you're not busy Sunday morning and you're listening to this podcast and you're close enough to drive, come on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anybody's welcome to join us for sure. Sundays are recovery runs, so
that's right.
Usually easy going for the most part.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I'll get a little bit excited and burn down a hill or two, but
or kick some rocks going down. Either one.
Yeah, that too. That does tend to happen, but yeah.
No, but man, like the being out in nature, being out in the trail, just in God's creation is just what's always attracted me, and still like. Every day, I feel like it just becomes more and more a prevalent, not just want, but like true need, if that makes any sense.
In which regard? Like
just getting out into that environment. And it's I don't know, like I don't know how to really explain outside of that, but it's like just it's just a need, you know? And I just feel a connection better. I feel grounded better. It's just like an escape for me, just getting out into nature and just disconnecting from everything else. And I feel like it's in a way, it's like, I mean, obviously we're going to go down a rabbit hole, but
I've already got things on my mind. Come on. I'm ready.
You know, like where we are today comparative to where we were 200 years ago, like, I mean, even 50 years ago, 60, 70 years ago, right? Like, people were so much more connected to everything around them comparative to where we are now. And so it's like just being cooped up in offices or on the computer or in electronics so consistently, and just paying attention to stuff that's just so distracting, really. And whenever you get back out into nature, it just like realigns you with life, like literally. And in a way, like what I find so attractive about going out and like this may sound weird, but there's so many times where I envision just like surviving off the land. And I feel like it entices me so much just because it brings everything back to just like the bare essentials, like the bare necessities of life, or it's just like the bare
Did you just
necessities.
quote the Jungle Book? Oh my god!
But it's like,
I was about to say you've been reading too much Hatchet, but man, you've been spending some time with Baloo and Mowgli.
Maybe.
I like it.
But it's like literally, you know, whenever your life is that simple, you're worried about what?
Yeah.
Food, shelter, survival. Like literally, that's it.
Forget about your worries and your strife.
Like crap that doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know, man. Like it's just an oversimplistic thing, and I know that I don't know. Maybe that sounds weird, but it's just so attractive, especially when it's just like everything else is so mundane. And
Yeah.
and again, like what I talked about last podcast, like everything, like there's just so much crap that just doesn't matter that everybody gets so wrapped up in, and just being able to take a step back and disconnect and get into just our roots essentially, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just really becoming a need more so than just a want. Though I'm a road runner for training, it's like I capitalize on all the training opportunities I have in front of me. That way I can go out and enjoy the trail that much more versus dying on the trail and having a brief like, oh, I love this, but dang, I'm freaking dying.
Yeah. I understand that.
I don't know. It's all encompassing, and I think too, you know, so much of that, like I'm consistently, I wouldn't say necessarily finding, but refining who I am on the road or in the trail. And just consistently I don't know, man, just striving to find clarity there and the direction that I'm trying to head, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, not to beat a dead horse that we talked about multiple times already, but that was Cocodona for me. In so many ways, I was disconnected from the world, and it was it sounds so stupid. I went and ran 250 miles in 92 hours, and guess what? That was the best vacation and recovery and like recharge that I've had in years.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was completely disconnected. I didn't have a bunch of bull crap following me around everywhere and people dependent on me and have to have my phone in my hand. It was a rejection of all of that crap that we get caught up in is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was beautiful. And it was essentially, what do we need right here in this moment right now? How are we going to survive? How are we going to work through this? And it was also the culmination of, like you said, all of those hours preparing through roads, through trails, through hiking terrible surfaces that had tons of elevation just repeatedly over and over so I could do those things.
It's like nothing else matters in that moment.
And it was
amazing.
Glorious. Yeah. It was my Hatchet moment, man. Come on.
Yep.
And I wanted to bring up something else because you talked about how we get caught up in all this stuff that doesn't matter. And really how addictive it becomes, right? And how we get like distracted and we distract ourselves. I was listening to a clip from Ninjas or Butterflies. It's a podcast. It's actually a podcast that introduced me to the whole red heifer thing back in the day.
Okay.
And this podcast, they talk about all kinds of crazy stuff, conspiracies. They talk about weird things in history, and just phenomenons that are tough to explain or unpredictable or odd. That's how the whole red heifer thing came about. But one thing they talked about in this clip of a recent episode is that there's a remote tribe that was disconnected from all technology and stuff like that. And internet was brought in and introduced to the tribe. And now the king is trying to get rid of, I guess, Big Chief, if you will, is trying to get rid of technology because all of their people are addicted to games, to porn, to all this crap on this internet and all this technology that they have now, they're getting lazy. There's hardly any people growing or hunting for food. Like the whole society that they had is falling apart.
It's literally collapsing. Yep.
Yes, because they are distracted and they're caught up in all this stuff that doesn't matter. And one of the questions they asked at the end of the clip was like, what does this say about us?
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting because you brought that up along those same lines.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. And I haven't disconnected from social media or anything like that, but so often do I see others, and there's many times like myself where I do catch myself, but it's like, why am I wasting time just doom scrolling?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, what else could I be doing? What lesson could I be going through and learning? What could I be developing with my wife, or what have you? I mean, there's so many different plugins there, and I don't know. It makes you wonder. So
it does. It's definitely a rabbit hole, a different one that we could go down.
Yeah, for sure, man. But in that too, I was like, I do love reading, and I've been reading a book called North. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I don't think I have.
My mind is literally blanking right now. I ain't got a laptop to bring it up.
I was going to say, we don't have a laptop. We got. You know what? I can be tech guy. Come on. I'm going to get out of the camera frame for a second. What are you looking for? What's the info you need, boss?
No, like my mind is blanking on the freaking ultra runner that wrote the book. It's Scott Jurek.
Scott Jurek,
there we
baby.
go. Yeah. That has been
with Jenny Jurek.
Very, very good book so far, and I'm like 4 or 5 chapters in, and there was something that was quoted within that book, or that he said in that book, that I just loved, and it was kind of going over mindsets, even comparative to thru hikers compared to ultra runners. And with thru hikers, oftentimes they look down upon ultra runners because, in a way, the trail is their church, right? They're going out there, they just want to enjoy it and just take in everything they can. And then you see ultra runners who, in somebody's perspective, could just be blowing through as fast as they could, not really taking in the vastness of it, I guess, if that makes any sense. But in all of that discussion about the mindset and everything, there was something that really stood out to me. I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it. And it was dealing with all of that. And it said, though man's soul finds solace in natural beauty, it is forged in the fire of pain.
Read it again.
Though man's soul finds solace in natural beauty, it is forged in the fire of pain. And whenever I read that, I was like, it's like that was so powerful, and so even more so just relatable, because it's like we do go through, we find comfort in all these different areas, but that's not who makes us who we are. And it's all these areas of development, spiritually, mentally, physically, that we go through. We consistently push that envelope. We're going through and forging ourselves. We are being forged through all of those challenges and opportunities. And it's like the further you go through and test yourself, the more hardened you become, right? The stronger individual you become, the more, I don't know, like just your apex just continues to grow and grow and grow. It's like that talk about potential. It's an endless thing. There is no final potential or full potential. The older I get, the more I realize that, right? And so that really attests to that right there. I feel like it's like you just go through, you consistently challenge yourself. you're just consistently forging yourself. You're forging your soul.
Yeah.
And there are so many different things I can just pull from that, just the different perspectives. I was just like, such a powerful thing, in my opinion. I just kind of wanted your thoughts on that too.
Man, I love it. Did Scott Jurek say that, or was it? Man, old Scotty boy.
Yeah.
It's great, and it's great for a few reasons for me, man. But just kind of rolling into it, I don't want to just throw all of my thoughts out here in a word vomit.
Do it.
But okay, all right. Well,
word vomit.
Man, come on.
Because I have so much to add to that, but I don't want to. Like, I want your thoughts on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's so powerful for me, and we are so, like, we are aligned in so many different things, but we also challenge each other in our perspectives in so many different things too.
We do, and man, I feel like finding solace, finding comfort, finding, like, even in the idea of the beauty, and the beauty works in so many different ways in our lives, because we have these conversations where we're unhappy in so many ways, and it's with our job, or it's with our physical health, or it's with the house we have, the money we make, the vehicle we drive. Like, there's always something better. I mean, we've had little conversations and snippets about the new Land Cruisers and how awesome they are, and how much we would love one of those instead of what we're driving now, or the, like, improvements we want to make to our house so it's a little bit better, or man, like if I could ever get a job doing this, working for myself, this would be the absolute best thing. And we get lost in the beauty, right? And the seeming comfort of what those things are. But the truth of the matter, like, where that development comes from, and I mean, the way you get even close to that is not these little escapes, these little vacations, these little splurges of spending that give you the illusion of what those are, and the 5-minute comfort, or getting lost in the situation that you're having for this brief moment, right? Versus I can recall a million things that were uncomfortable, were things I didn't want to do, were things that put me in a spot against my will and against my natural, like, being and state and desires, right? And I got into these places of pain, and that's where I found true growth, and on the other side of it found that solace, found that those things, that beauty that I was looking for in this place that I wanted instantaneous relief, right? I wanted to take this easy route that was like, okay, I'm going to go just completely check out and go on this vacation for 5 days or whatever, go to Seattle, go to the beach, whatever. And the whole time it's just like, it's nothing, right? I'm not able to get relief. I'm not able to get escape. I'm not able to get any kind of break. But the place I find those is in the true feeling of being able to be proud of what I've, like, worked my ass off to achieve, and where I've gone through pain and overcome super challenging situations that caused me to have to steer my ship into seas that I wasn't comfortable navigating. Right. And I had to go through that, and I had to fight everything, and I had to work hard and manage other people while I was doing it, and just honestly go through a suffer fest, a suck fest. But at the end of it, I mean, came out with something you can truly be proud of, and actually truly work with, and have experiences you could fall back on. And that's really what that, like, reminded me of instantaneously is I do get distracted by those things, and it is a place of comfort for a lot of people, I'm sure, in society. And that's why the escaping or buffering or utilizing some source of distraction, like drinking or alcohol and all these other crappy habits that we have, even eating, even pornography, all this stuff, those are beauties and things like that we find comfort in and distract ourselves with, so we avoid the progress that we are supposed to be making and that we truly want to make, that is within the pain and on the other side of the pain.
Absolutely.
Makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And even diving into the mindset whenever you're going through pain. Something that we've talked about before, and something that I've told you on the trails, and you know, in those moments of pain, you know, you got to remember who you are, right? And there's so much behind it. There's so much more behind it than just like who you are. But I read an additional thing that was also attesting to, you know, what you hold true to believe in a clear mind and a healthy body also holds true in those moments of pain and darkness. And it's just like, dang, dude. It's just it's another banger for me.
Man, we're just diving off in the deep freaking quotes today.
And
Tatonka with the freaking, like, Tatonkas are like an onion, okay? They got layers, okay? Peel them back little by little and get deeper. No, dude, that's dope. I love that.
And, you know, just being able to, it's one thing to go through and say it, but it's another to one, actually believe it, but live through that too in those moments. And, you know, as we continue to go through and I would say forge, but more so be forged in the fires of pain. You know, whether you're going through something, whether I am, whether whoever is listening to this, just keep that in mind. Like, what you hold true to believe in those moments of clear-headedness and a healthy body, easy situation, the same holds true whenever you're going through and struggling.
Yeah. I think it's so easy to lose sight of that because, I mean, you know, I'm battling through things right now, and I've kind of had a weird mindset about a lot of things, but it is true because it really puts in perspective and starts the conversation of what matters and what doesn't matter into what you bring in, right? You see something in your periphery that is this scary looking ominous thing or something that you see coming down the line, and you get all worked up and worried about it as it moves more in front of you. And it is true. I mean, like you get these things that step onto the path in front of you that you got to overcome or you got to fight through or you got to deal with. But at the end of the day, you're still going down that path headed towards your destination. And those little things that come through don't matter because you're still on that journey. You're still going where you're trying to go. You're still got the same end in mind. The things that you care about and that are dear to you and important to you are still dear to you and important to you. And they're going to be the motivators for you getting out of bed and going and doing whatever you got to do that day, regardless of what it is. But it's super easy to lose sight of those things, especially in the moment. So that's cool.
Absolutely. I mean, it was just, I don't know. There's so many different situations and scenarios you can apply that to.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you know, pre-race, everybody typically goes into one knowing and believing that they can go through and knock it out. Otherwise, they wouldn't be signed up for it. Or at least they're trying to go through and find that their limit, right?
I was gonna say sometimes we sign up for stuff we're not sure about, brother.
You're going through and trying to find your limit.
I know.
You have faith and belief.
Yes.
But it's easy to lose sight of that faith and belief whenever you're tired. You're over 100 miles in and you haven't had any sleep. You tore a calf muscle. Your feet are hurting. Your back is going out.
Your back locks up.
You know, there's so many different areas that you can look back on. You're down on nutrition, like so many simple things, but that still holds true in that moment. You can still have that faith. You can still have that belief. It's just going through and choosing to be strong. So,
yeah, I love that.
It's all perspective.
It's all perspective.
There it is.
That's the Tatonka way.
But man, and I mean that ties into faith obviously so heavily, and you know, in Matthew 17, you know, there's a pretty big section that talks about faith, obviously throughout the entire Bible, there's multiple different areas.
Reoccurring theme.
But why don't we dive into Matthew 17 if you're cool with it,
Yeah, man, let's run.
and we can keep on rolling, dude.
I just turned off of Matthew 17. Whoops. Yeah, I'm good to go, man.
So that first section goes into turn my page into the transfiguration. Do you want me to go through and read it?
Man, it's up to you. The 17's a little short, so we could absolutely read sections and then tear them apart if you want to.
Yeah, dude, I'll go through and read this.
About to see how bad of a reader I am.
You might hear some sad duckies. I don't know.
Oh.
Nah, prepared. We're good. So, transfiguration. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he was still speaking, a bright cloud covered them, and a voice from the cloud said, This is my son, whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him. When the disciples heard this, they fell face down to the ground, terrified. But Jesus came and touched them. Get up, he said. Don't be afraid. When they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus. I'm going to pause right there. That's a lot that just happened in the 3 paragraphs I just read.
It's a lot. I agree.
And it's like, I don't want to make light of any of that because Jesus transfigured before them. Elijah and Moses appeared, and God spoke to them.
Yeah.
That's a lot, dude.
It is a whole lot, man. It's a whole lot.
I don't know. Like I try to put it into perspective of like if I saw that today, what would my reaction be? And I would literally be in disbelief and probably sheer terror.
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
Cause like, hold up, this dude just literally transformed in front of me into a being that you can't even see because the light is so bright. Is the perception that you have there, right?
Yeah.
You have 2 figures that have died and are there with him as well,
that
speaking.
Been reading about in the Torah that you've memorized since you were a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And God spoke to you through a cloud? Like what?
Yeah. Yeah. And in some ways told you, hey, stop.
Yeah. It's okay.
We're worried about you. Focus on what's going on. There's important stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's huge, man. It's a lot to unpack. And first off, one of the things that came to mind for me was just like the eternal promise that the Gospels give us of a heaven and a place for us to go that's being prepared for us. I mean, it's a further reiteration of that for me because it talks directly about how, Moses and Elijah appear right there. And these are 2 that we know were servants of God and faithful to God. And like I said, it's a reiteration. It's proof, evidence of that because these 2 who have died long, long ago and were part of the Old Testament are stories that these men, biblical stories and things that these men have been told about their entire lives are standing in front of them essentially at God's hand, right? Meeting with Jesus and talking with him. And just, like I said, it's a reiteration of the promise of what is to come for a faithful life through Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And through what he did in his sacrifice to save us who are unworthy or sinful, and how his grace is the most important thing, right? And it was just a really big reiteration of that, hearing those things and seeing that, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Um, and just to continue, as they were coming down from the mountain, Jesus instructed them, "Don't tell anyone what you have seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." And so right there, I mean, there's foreshadowing of what's to come, right? The disciples asked him, "Why then do the teachers of the law say that Elijah must come first?" Jesus replied, "To be sure, Elijah comes and will restore all things, but I tell you, Elijah has already come, and they did not recognize him. But I've done to him everything they wished. In the same way, the Son of Man is going to suffer at their hands." Then the disciples understood that he was talking to them about John the Baptist.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because, I mean, it shows how simple-minded everybody can become, including ourselves, and one-track mind of you expecting to be things to be a certain way and see things a certain way, and you just overlook.
It's like all the assumptions that can easily be made, right?
Yeah, even to these days, I mean, like, but you're sitting there talking about how John the Baptist is the Elijah that came and the prophet that came and paved the way for Jesus and prepared everything, right?
Yeah.
And it's huge because even like going back to earlier in some of our conversations, everyone not understanding and honestly not believing or being unhappy with the conversations about Jesus being the Messiah because it's not what they expected, right? And there was so much criticism around John the Baptist because he is not what they expected. And there's these these self-imposed beliefs that we have that we put all this weight and value into, and especially in the world we live in now, man. I mean, I've seen so many different conversations about what God is and what God isn't, and loving and accepting and all this, like, really, I hate to say it any other way, but kind of hippy dippy stuff where it's like, it's like all merciful, all graceful. You don't have to follow anything. You just have to believe. And you can live this life of just utter chaos because we aren't good enough anyway. Right. But the truth of the matter is like, this reiterates the fact that there is a certain way to handle things. There's a certain holiness and following of the life of Jesus and of these prophets and the teachings that we actually have to live in.
Yeah.
Right. And it talks about that right there and shows an example of it whenever they talk about how it reads it a little bit different. Mine is a different translation than yours, obviously. But going into verse 11 again, Jesus replied, "Elijah is indeed coming first to get everything ready. But I tell you, Elijah has already come, and he wasn't recognized. And they chose to abuse him. And in the same way, they will also make the Son of Man suffer." Then the disciples realized he was talking about John the Baptist. I mean, it's just a great example of that because, I mean, I don't know, dude.
I think there's a big misconception that it's like, there's a misconception, I feel like, in that, you go through, you say this prayer, you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, right? And that he died on the cross for your sins, and if you believe in that, then you're good to go to heaven regardless of what you do. And like I feel like that's the perception, unfortunately, for a lot of folks, because you're missing the point of needing to go through and actually strive to build a relationship there and try to live like him and through him in every which way that you can. And yes, you are going to fail daily. Multiple times. You're going to go through, you're going to struggle with consistent things. You're going to pray about stuff that you're going to continue to struggle with. And, so often you're going to go through and fail, but just because you're going to fail doesn't give you the right to go through and live how you want and just ask for forgiveness on the flip side of it.
Yeah.
And, I just feel like it's a missed opportunity for so many people out there that do believe that. And I was one of those for a long time too, where it's like I believe this, and there's so many times where I'd ignorantly envision like, oh, my last 30 seconds, I'm gonna make sure I ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
And
Bring
I'll be brought into the pearly gates, and you know how dumb that is.
Yeah, hit the 3-pointer at the line with 2 seconds left to go to win the game, kind of thing. Yeah.
And it even speaks to it earlier in Matthew, where there are individuals that go through and do things in the name of the Lord, for the Lord, and because their heart isn't, the posture of their heart isn't where it should be. Whenever you meet him, he's gonna say, "I don't know you."
And I think one of the best examples of something within this conversation that needs to be discussed was from 3 of 7. They had a good conversation around posture of heart and what that looks like, because it's real easy to lose hope in that and be like, well, we're all sinful and we're all going to sin anyway, and have that same mindset and that same posture. But it becomes a conversation of living in sin versus living a life of Christ and being a person that sins, right? And there's
that's powerful.
Yeah, it's a knowing, like, just disregard for the precedents as set by Christ and the laws that are set, and I personally still struggle with this of living the chance life and living out my own will and going into what it is that I want and the worldly desires and the sins of the flesh, right? The things that I want more than I feel the importance of living a life that is fully honoring the teachings of the Gospels, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And living a life that mirrors that of Jesus. And I fall short on that so many times, and I know for a very long time I've been in that pattern of living in sin, right? Not being a faithful believer that has given my life to Christ, given him the opportunity to take my life in the direction, living for him, not for myself, dying to myself, and still making mistakes because I'm a human being and I'm incapable of being perfect.
Yeah.
That's why Christ had to come down and be the lamb and the sacrifice for us to pay the debt of our sins.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And, you know, something that's been revealed to me is just like how stupidly weak I am.
Oh, my God, dude.
And it's like, Lord, without you, I have absolutely no hope, because the most simple thing easily overpowers me and my what I would call mental fortitude, which I feel like I have solid mental fortitude.
Yeah.
In a lot of situations, there's just as many where it's just like, nope, you don't have that mental strength.
And it's even stuff like you're conscious of it. You're
100%.
You're like, oh, I feel this coming on. Like, no,
Yeah.
not this time. And then literally 30 minutes later, you're like, wait a minute.
Yep. And it's just like, Lord, I am weak. And I have no hope without you.
Yeah. And, dude, that is a tough pill to swallow, even especially as a man sitting here in a realization that it goes back to the conversations that I've heard on a couple different podcasts and from a couple different preachers, and even it was placed in one of the sermons that we went to in church, and it's just like, in the story of David and Goliath, like, you're not David. Like
Unfortunately,
we love to picture ourselves as David and as like the strength and the courage and like
I can fight a bear with one hand.
The strong arm of God here on planet Earth, but
it's not the reality.
That's not us. Yeah. We're literally the observers and the ones that need the saving. We're the ones that can't stand up to this. What was the word they use? The uncircumcised Philistine.
Yeah.
Was the curse against Goliath.
Against Goliath, yeah.
but we're standing there and not brave enough to stand up and fight him because we know we're too weak. We know we can't overcome him, and we need a savior to come.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exactly where it is.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I don't know. It's just so relatable. It's like, and it's just been revealed just consistently just how weak and how little in control I am compared to what I feel like I am compared to the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
So,
man, yeah,
it's just pretty incredible. But that all ties into having faith, right? And that ties into this next section really well, where Jesus goes through and heals a boy, right? So the next section, when they came to the crowd, a man approached Jesus and knelt before him. Lord, have mercy on my son, he said. He has seizures and is suffering greatly. He often falls into the fire or into the water. I brought him to your disciples, but they could not heal him. You unbelieving and perverse generation, Jesus replied. How long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy here to me. Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of the boy, and he was healed at that moment. Then the disciples came to Jesus to pry it and asked, why couldn't we drive it out? And he replied, because you have so little faith. Truly I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you.
What a challenge. Like, man, what I mean by a challenge is it's just such a reiteration of how important it is to like work out and to train your faith, and by living in and honestly trying to foster and grow a relationship with Christ out of faith every single freaking day. Because if these guys that gave up everything to follow this preacher, this teacher who was revealed as the Son of God, and they watched him perform miracle after miracle, by this point he gave them his own strength and powers to go cast out demons, to go heal people.
And they still don't have the faith.
And they still didn't have enough faith. Like, holy crap. Like, I have my work cut out for me. And, like, I can relate so much to being in that situation of not having enough faith and not being able to cast out the demons because it is such a battle. And
I feel like that's a battle that's easily, like, you can get wrapped into of, am I doing enough? Am I living enough to even make it to heaven?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest worries and biggest conversations, and it's probably honestly one of the biggest points at which I know it has been for me, but a lot of people probably get to that point of why try. Mm-hmm. Like, I've been there. Like, I've been at the point of like self-righteousness enough where I was like, well, if I'm a good person and I do all these good things and I still don't make it in because of some clause and some acceptance of some thing that happened all this time ago, like, then I don't even want to be part of that.
Yeah.
And I've had this mindset before. And I know there's a lot of people that get into that because of like this daunting thing that stands in front of us of what faith is. And it's scary, dude. Like, especially being somebody going through this, and we're learning a lot of this stuff as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it still, in a sense, ties back to the same lesson of you just got to step out and do the dang thing, right? Whenever you go through, you overanalyze, you start questioning. I mean, that alone shows that you don't have faith in yourself or in the process. And so once you start going through that process, you start challenging yourself. You start building your strength in your relationship with God and Jesus. I mean, you start putting that to a test. you're going to gain faith and confidence through those situations, and that just continues to build over itself over and over.
So what you're saying is working out your faith muscles in the same way that we religiously do all of our physical training.
Yeah. Easier said than done.
Easier said than done, man. Oh.
And I say that hypocritically too. Like, there's been so many times where I literally do the exact opposite of what I just said.
Well, I got you one that popped in my head too, and it's kind of a realization and like a light bulb going off, like, duh, you idiot. But like I've wondered why through this. I'll be completely transparent with y'all. There's times in this early stages of faith where it's like nothing's happening.
Mm-hmm.
There's times whenever I do see little things happening, and there's times whenever it's like, this is hard and this sucks, and I don't want to like do this. I don't want to get out of bed in the morning and read the Bible the first thing in the morning. I don't want to like pray. I don't want to like it's so just it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard sometimes to put that effort into it, but in that same way we just talked about comparing it to working our muscles, like for how long whenever we first started this process did we hate having to get up and work out, and did it suck, and did we not see any progress and all this stuff? But it is identical to that in such a way, like in such a powerful way, because I've been like, especially lately, I've just been kind of in a rough patch, and I haven't seen any progress. I haven't felt any progress until like recently, like church. I had a couple of really good things that hit home and just felt right again. But it's so easy to forget that that's the thing, like that's the natural progression of life and how things are going to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and you also have to consider, think about the girl that bled for 10 years. We go through periods of time where it's like we struggle for a week and we're like, God, save us from this situation.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, obviously, we go through stuff that lasts longer than that too, but, I mean, that's that opportunity right in front of us.
Yeah.
So that's something that really stuck out to me from that.
I agree.
I'll
read this next section. I'll let you. I feel like I've been talking way too much.
No, so man. I don't mind reading.
I'll narrate this thing.
Okay. That's fine. There's a difficult word in the...
Whew. What, Galilee?
No. I guess talking about the tax.
Maybe the next one.
Is it Capernaum?
Capernaum, baby.
Oh, see? Oh, that's fine.
Well, we'll break it down to this other section. Jesus again predicts his death. Verse 22. After they gathered again in Galilee, Jesus told them, "The Son of Man is going to be betrayed into the hands of his enemies. He will be killed, but on the third day he will be raised from the dead." And the disciples were filled with grief.
Pause for a second. What translation do you read from?
Man, I read from this is a NLT version Bible.
Something that I thought very interesting. So at the end of that verse 22, the Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of enemies, is what yours said.
Mm-hmm.
So mine says, I'm reading NIV, the Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men. And I find that very interesting how similarly those are, like men and enemies.
I mean, from everything we've talked about and discussed with our struggles, man, like it aligns, because everything that calls us and pulls us to a life of self-indulgence and all the worldly desires, like is men related.
Literally. Yeah.
Huh. That is a very cool thing you just grabbed from that. It's interesting. It's like
our natural tendency is the enemy or the epitome of what we should not be.
And I would be interested to go back and see what the King James Version translates to in that too.
Yeah. Which I do go through whenever I'm going through and studying. My Bible is a NIV, but whenever I'm on the Bible app, I'll flip through different translations just to see how they align, and just try to pick out some different things from there. But that's something that really grabbed at me. But
It's interesting.
What
takeaways from there? Sorry, we're back. Takeaways from there.
Man, I mean, again, Jesus going through and alluding to, I mean, predicting his death. He is telling, hey, this is what's going to happen. You know what I mean? And I don't know. Like, I don't know. You get a lot of different reactions from that we've seen throughout Scripture. Whenever he predicted it the first time. And now, whenever we see it the second time, the reactions have been very oppositional, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's still easy to maintain focus on the small picture instead of the big picture that he obviously sees and has. Because without this, then there would be none of literally this, right?
Yeah.
Or our salvation. But short-sightedly, they obviously see that they don't want him to die. They don't want to lose their teacher. In a way, it's like selfishly, but at the same time, it's like, shoot, I don't blame you either.
No, absolutely. Well, then you can start considering other angles of what this really looked like for them too. I mean, they like their hope of salvation and conquering the Roman oppression and the pagan oppression as well was who they thought this warrior
was going to go through and decimate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now he's saying that he's going to die, and they're talking about the strength and the power of this person and this son of God, right? And now he's going to be lost and perish at the hands of men.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many, like I can't imagine the mix of emotions that are going through their heads. And it says grief here, and it's interesting to see that change, obviously, from when Peter was rebuked for saying, "No, we will not let this happen," and kind of like tempting Jesus away from God's plans and what was required of him in the story of paying the debt of man, right? Yep. So it really is an interesting, different path. And I guess one thing that struck me, and maybe they have, and I missed it, but just being somebody that's going through this for the first time, and the reiteration of predicting his death again and again, nobody's asked why. Right? And maybe they knew. Maybe there's something in Scripture. I don't think there was, obviously, because they don't know how this played out.
Yeah.
But
no, I mean, you're correct. Something that I just kind of connected in my own head whenever you said that, because he predicted it 3 times, right? And on the third day is whenever he rose as well. And so I wonder what the
significance,
what the relation is there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, solid point. Nobody's made that question.
And maybe it was they were so struck by their emotions and the natural reaction that they didn't even think about that. But that just gets me, and I'm being such a curious mind. I don't know that I would have reacted any differently or asked why, but
yeah.
And maybe that talks about what, like, we're not meant to know why all the time, and there's a bigger plan that is unknown to us, and that's just something that we have to find out in due time and have faith.
Just going through it, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Then, lastly, a verse that kind of, honestly, I didn't like. Hearing as a human, as a person here that has struggles and is bothered by certain things in the way that our world works. Payment of the temple tax. Verse 24. On their arrival in Capernaum, the collectors of the temple tax came to Peter and asked him, "Doesn't your teacher pay the tax or pay the temple tax?" "Yes, he does," Peter replied. Then he went into the house. But before they had a chance to speak, Jesus asked him, "What do you think, Peter? Do kings tax their own people or the people they have conquered?" "They tax the people that they have conquered," Peter replied. "Well then," Jesus said, "the citizens are free. However, we don't want to offend them, so go down to the lake, throw in a line, open the mouth of the first fish you catch, and you will find a large silver coin. Take it and pay the tax for both of us." It threw me off.
Two things are certain in life: death and taxes.
Yeah, right. But it threw me off. I know it's funny because I don't like paying taxes first. We can go down an entire rabbit hole on the government and taxes and where all that goes and how corrupt and wild it is. But that's not what we're here to do on this. But there's another reason besides that it threw me off, because one thing he talks about is it's like before he had the chance to speak, Jesus asked him, "What do you think, Peter? Do kings tax their own people or the people they've conquered?" And he said that they tax the people they have conquered. "Well then," Jesus said, "the citizens are free. However, we don't want to offend them, so go down to the lake, throw in your line, open the mouth of the first fish you catch, and you will find a large silver coin. Take it and pay the tax for both of us." And for me, it's a reiteration of kind of some things we've already talked about, but the things that we don't want to do and the paths that we don't want to walk, but the importance of doing them, right? And I mean, it would have been just as easy for him to say, "Nah, kick rocks."
Yeah, absolutely.
And to dispute this or to even overlook it, because in the grand scheme of things, for what he was doing and what he knew he had to do and what was on his mind and the suffering he knew what was to come, it's such a minute thing and something he didn't have to worry about, right? But just a reiteration in the importance of there's going to be things in our lives that we don't want to suffer through. We don't want to deal with. We don't want to, even just getting up and going to work and dealing with the things that we have to do. But even in other scriptures in the Bible, it is backed up that biblically we need to be good stewards and we need to be good employees. We need to obey a master. We need to work hard as if we're working for the Lord. I mean, there's so much backup behind that, and being somebody that is I'm so ready to live a life that is on a path to honestly, it's a self-reliance path where I take my time, I take my resources, I take my money, I take my future, my career, all of these things into my own hands. But it's just a reiteration throughout this Bible that there's things you're going to have to weather. There's things you're going to have to do that you're not going to want to do, and you've got to do them. And I don't know. That's one thing that kind of caught me.
No, dude.
In this one.
I like that. I like that a lot. I don't know, what I took from it in a sense is one, obviously the power that he has, but two, also the insignificance of money and taxes.
That's fair.
Just because just go open the the mouth of the first fish and there's gonna be a coin that will cover our taxes, or the taxes for the king, or whatever it is. And I don't know, it's just so insignificant. It's here's this small thing just to keep the peace, essentially, that really has no significance, no true meaning or purpose of anything higher than what it actually is.
Yeah. I mean, that's so interesting, because that's literally the antithesis of what I just took from it, because I made such a big deal out of that. And I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right. the significance of that is like it's not what matters. It's not the fight that's worth fighting, right? It makes a lot of sense, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, but in the same breath, it's very easy to see and understand your viewpoint from that as well.
Yeah,
it's something that I certainly have so often. But on the flip side of it too, it's like here's this irrelevant thing that's just gonna keep the peace in the meantime.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
So,
man, Matthew 17.
It's a good one, man. But folks, we do have a partnership that we need to be sure that we mention.
We do. Did you have any other points from 17, or are you good?
I'm good on 17. Do you have anything else?
No, sir. I'm good too. I just wanted to make sure before we rolled on. But yeah,
absolutely.
What is this partnership that you speak of?
I think it starts with an A. Does that give any light into who we're talking about? Is this
what's it? What's that company? Athletic Greens or something like that?
Oh God!
Do we have a partnership? Do we have a sponsor?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. AG1. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. No, not them. Oh man, there's so many.
Top Notch Recovery.
Top-notch recovery.
That's what they specialize in.
Oh, man.
As a matter of fact, I think you're wearing their hat. If you're
what?
Just forgetting. Oh, hot dang.
Oh, Access Recovery, man. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we're the worst at ads. Sorry, we know. Go ahead. Access Recovery. Wow.
Haven't heard of them. Let me hear it.
Enlighten me.
You want me to?
Yeah, I said enlighten me. Oh my God. We're terrible.
Barnes, we apologize. Kyle, happy birthday, by the way. Surprise.
Woo.
No, dude. Access Recovery. Folks, if you are in the Conroe area, you're looking for quality recovery, be sure to stop by. They'll offer all sorts of different options for you. Contrast therapy, saunas, cold plunges. They got the Normatec boots that we so love as trail runners or road runners, whatever you fancy. On top of that, they got the stretch area, mobility area, and just top-notch customer service. Two guys that couldn't care. Did I say that right? Couldn't care more. Is that right?
I don't know
how's that coming
out?
Hey,
this is your ad.
Two guys that care so much that they could not care anymore. That sounds terrible.
That does sound terrible. They don't care. No, these guys.
They thoroughly, man. They just give so much to the community.
They do. The give a damn factor with these guys is off the charts.
Yeah, absolutely. They're there to give anything and everything they can to help you through that process, because they are also out there in the community, getting after it themselves. They realize the importance of recovery, and they just want to help you succeed in all of your goals as well. And they're starting to get some pretty big business going through out there. They got the Sam Houston Bearcat football team going through their doors.
That's what I heard, man.
Absolutely. They got some big coaches going through. They got some Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys going through their doors as well. So, I mean, literally all-encompassing. Obviously, they got a bunch of CrossFitters, runners, weightlifters. First responders, teachers, if I had to guess.
I bet there's been a teacher through there, too.
Probably. Yeah. I don't know.
Teachers and cold plunges, they just go together like peanut butter and jelly, baby.
It's to relieve the stress of what is public school teaching.
Something we both know about all too well.
Absolutely.
Hey, but if you mention us,
you get 10% off the next visit.
10% off the next visit. And hey, in a world with hyperinflation and terrible economics, 10% is a lot.
Or very little.
Yeah, because they're so cheap. Yeah, we're good at ads.
But obviously, stop by. Make sure you mention next in line, and they'll get you sorted out 100%. So
that's right. Man, I'll tell you one more thing that we need to talk about before we do anything else. guys, if you like what you're hearing, if you're entertained, if you're enjoying us diving into Matthew and the gospel of Jesus Christ, or just these terrible, terrible stories of the adventures of Slanted One and Tatonka, y'all can give us a follow on Facebook or Instagram. That's at Next in Line Development on both platforms. But what we're really looking for is share the show, guys. We couldn't care more about. Did I say that right?
There we go.
That
sounds.
No,
That's what I was trying to say.
we can, guys. We really care about this community. We are fired up about helping people in all regards. We talk about the spiritual, mental, and physical aspects of personal development, and we want to help as many people develop those things as possible. So what you can do is you can leave us a rating or review, or you can share the show on whatever platform you find yourself listening on. Screenshot it. There's a share button to share the link out there on Facebook and Instagram. And what that's going to do is it's going to help us reach more people and help more people and just keep the fuel and the fire going for this podcast.
100%. We also got some upcoming events.
Do we?
We do, man. We got Leadville in 7 weeks.
7 weeks.
It's coming up pretty quick.
Leadville,
Colorado. We're going to be coming in there pretty hot. Barnes is running that 100 out there. Stoked to see what he gets done out there on that trail, man. It's going to be incredible.
Right. In true Barnes fashion, we haven't had a planning session yet, baby. Flying by the skin of our teeth, coming in hot, skidding in sideways. We're going to run an ultra marathon.
100%.
That's how we do it.
Stoked.
And then on the very opposite end of that scale, we've got Cowboy 200 coming up.
Cowboy 200, man. That's in September.
September, baby. We got Billy Joggins, my father, Billy Pitts, going out there and running that race. We're stoked for him. Now, what I mean by the opposite end of the scale, very, very calculated. Probably have 17 meetings beforehand, and we love it. We're planners. We love having gear all lined out, plans all lined out, and stoked about it, man.
Absolutely. After that, we have good old Cactus Rose in Bandera. That's going to be October 26th. That's going to be my 50-miler, dude. I'm stoked to get out there. It's going to be a good time. So
I'm stoked for you, man. I'm excited to be a part of that, yeah.
100%. You're going to be on the crewing side.
Say, maybe dog. I can be Big Chief. Big Chief for a weekend. Come on out. See your boy, Slanted One.
100%. Come check out the Gazelle in person.
Oh, dude, the Tatonka Elk Cross is going to be doing it. But after that, Dinosaur Valley with Broke Knees Ruiz. He's going to be out there knocking that sucker out. Yeah, like a week before Thanksgiving or something like that out in November.
Yep, 100%, man.
Stoked about that one for him.
And somewhere from September to December, so there's a little bit of time range there. My brother, he's actually going to be trying to knock out his first trail marathon.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's pretty dang cool.
You need a crew?
Probably.
Old CD out there, man. Well, welcome to the club. Maybe
yeah.
We'll be thinking of some Indian names for you in the meantime.
But I'm pretty stoked for him, man. He's been reaching out, getting some advice and some tips on the running side of things. Just trying to get some perspective just as he dives back into the running world. And, dude, I just love seeing the fire of people, like, first starting out in this. Yeah. And it's like, dang, like, you just love it. You love to see it. And just how hyped they get about certain things. And also, at the same time, the hesitation that they have because they haven't sucked themselves out on that branch yet. They don't know what they can really take, right? But we have faith in the individuals that are willing to at least go through and sign up for a race. And it's like once they knock down that door, son, get ready.
Pretty soon you end up running 250 miles. Oh, man. No, it is cool being on the other side of that and knowing and seeing what someone's capable of, and they just don't have it yet, and they haven't done it, so that confidence just isn't quite there, but you're just like, oh, man, it's going to be so cool whenever you finally realize what you're capable of.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And even within that, too, I know that we've had a couple Next in Line community guys reach out with some things that they're looking at doing, and I'm stoked to see how all that plays out as well. So yeah,
we might end up out at Big Tex. I need to shoot some messages in response, talk to talked to a gentleman that's been in the loop commenting on some stuff.
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
So,
And I also had another guy reach out to see if we were putting together or wanted to be a part of another habanero relay team.
ooh. August? Like this August?
This August.
That's tight.
It is, man, because it's the weekend before Leadville.
Sheesh.
I was like, dude,
That might be tight.
we'll have to see how things continue to shake out for sure. So
Yeah.
either way, we got lots of big things coming out this year. Tying into early next year, I signed up for the dang thing over probably a month and some change back. I got my 100-miler coming up. It's gonna be Rocky Raccoon, baby.
Sheesh. 100 miles.
100-miler.
Tatonka out there on the plains of Sam Houston State Park, north of Conroe.
Mm-hmm. Be out there blazing that troll, son. Better watch
Man.
out.
Be hooking through them piney woods.
Mm-hmm.
Beating your hooves against some roots out there. Dude, I'm stoked for you. I'm so excited. It's going to be cool to have you in that prestigious 100-mile club here pretty soon.
Absolutely. It's going to be a good time, man.
Yeah.
And I ain't no telling what's going to be, what else we're going to have between now and then. And those that haven't brought us in on what they're doing, please bring us into it. Let us know what you got going on in your life. If we can help in any way, I mean, that's our passion. That's why we want to do this. That's why we are doing this, and we just want to help others continue to grow. So,
yeah, and I'm excited to announce that May 2025, Cocodona 250 round 2, baby. I'm joking.
I was like, what?
No.
Because I know that sucker signed out literally the week after we finished the first one.
Both of the lanes in my life, Lane Divin and especially my wife, Lane Pitts, would kill me if I did that. But it'd be fun.
It would be. It'd be
It'd be a blast.
A hell of an adventure, man.
Another one. We'll see what happens. I have no clue what I'm going to get into, but I'm due for something, so we'll make some announcements sometime.
Absolutely. Well, brother, other than that, all we got is prayer. You wanna lead us off on that one?
Yeah, I can pop it off, man.
Cool.
Yeah. Nice hat, by the way.
Oh, my pristine Lecky hat.
Yeah, we'll have to save that story for the
okay, I'll save it for the next one.
You can't get those in America, by the way. So.
B-dubs. You got to have a connection or two.
Yeah. Tatonka got connections. If y'all want to join us. Heavenly Father, we thank y'all for the opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity to come together and meet in fellowship and discuss your word, discuss what your son did for us and the debt that was paid for us sinners here on earth. And God, we just pray for those that would listen to this podcast. Pray for those that we interact with throughout our days and for the mindsets that we bring to those interactions. God, we ask that you put your hands on us and guide us down the path and take us on the path that would honor your will and live in faith with you and step away from what we want here in a worldly sense as human beings here on earth. God, we ask for your protection for those that are going through events, those that are going through opportunities in life, and just look over them and guide them in a way that would honor you in the best way possible. We pray for our enemies and those that might not agree with us on things as well, God. We ask that you just guide them in that same way. God, we ask that you deliver us from evil. We ask that you protect us from the temptations of this world and that you forgive us the sinners that fall short of your glory every single day. And God, we just say thank you for all these wonderful, wonderful blessings that you put in our lives, these friends, family, experiences, jobs, things that we take for granted every single day. And God, we love you, and we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, in whose name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I appreciate you, brother.
Hey, thank you.
Well, folks, you know what to do.
What do they do?
What do they do? Man, you get out there. You got to do the dang thing. Go do hard things. Lead the freaking way and always be prepared for whatever is
Next in line.
Adios, folks.
Adios.